You can wear all the hats. Do not limit yourself. If you don't like where you've ended up, you have the power to change. You're the one. Waiting on permission is not going to do anything. It's going to create decades of resentment and corrosive feelings towards yourself and society.
Welcome to the Anniston Riekstins Show. This space is created for the woman coming home to her voice, her power, her way. For the woman remembering who she really is, beneath the noise, beneath the roles, beneath the world's expectations. I'm Anniston, transformational guide, spiritual teacher, best-selling author, and creator, here to walk beside you, to share stories, wisdom, and energy that guide you back home. Here, we lead from the inside out. We create from overflow, not hustle. We rise not by becoming someone else, but by remembering who we've always been. This isn't just a podcast. It's a homecoming. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Anniston Riekstins Show. I am so honored that you're here, and I need to tell you about how this specific guest came into my life, because honestly, it could not be more on brand for everything we talk about in this show. I recently gave a TEDx talk, and as part of the TEDx process in TEDx Wilmington, we had an opportunity to practice with our fellow TEDx speakers over the course of about 6 months. And as we were rehearsing, I kept watching this woman across the screen, because we started rehearsing on Zoom, deliver her speech. And every single time I heard it, something in me just stopped. Like the kind of stop where you go still because you recognize something true. Her story profoundly changed me. It profoundly shifted me and still continues to do to this day. Her name is Kristi Ray. She is the co-founder of Honeyhead Films, a female-centric, mission-driven production company that has been quietly and powerfully changing the landscape of independent film from right here in the Southeast and Wilmington, North Carolina. And what you're going to hear today is not just a story about filmmaking. It is a story about what happens when you are brave enough to stop auditioning for a life someone else is casting you in and start creating the one that was always meant for you. Kristi moved to LA as a young woman with stars in her eyes and what she thought was a clear path. She came home feeling crushed. She heard the word no so many times, she almost believed it, and then the universe knocked. Not once, not twice, 3 times. And the third time, she finally opened that door. What unfolded is Honeyhead Films, a company built on collaboration, on lifting while climbing, on 50% or more female crews, and on the radical belief that if the table doesn't have a seat for you, you build your own freaking table. I love this conversation. I love everything about it. And I am so excited to share it with this community of incredibly powerful, divinely inspired, and mission-led women. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Anniston Riekstins Show. As always, I am so grateful you're here and that you are choosing to spend your time with us. And I have just the most incredible human that very synchronistically came into my life, as I just talked to you guys about on the intro. So, Kristi, I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you.
I'm honored to be on the Anniston Show. I love the name of your podcast. It's just so bold.
I'm just putting my name out there.
Yeah, we have one at my company. It's called Raw Unfiltered Honey. That's the name of the Honeyhead Films podcast. And it's like an indie filmmaking journey, but we're really raw and unfiltered. So it's a fun little kind of code name there.
Yeah, no, I love that. I did not even know that you had a podcast, but I will absolutely subscribe right after this.
Awesome,
So I can start
awesome.
listening, get more Kristi in my life on demand. And I'm really excited about this conversation on so many levels. When I first heard your story as we were rehearsing our TEDx speeches over and over and over again, every time I heard it, man, it hit. And it hit at such a level. I want to give an opportunity for you to share your story. But before we get into that, I was like perusing on your website because I was like, I've got to stalk her a little bit and find you on social media, find you on your website. And right, like front and center on your website, I see you're talking about Ikigai, which I was like, oh, she's so my people, right? So I want to start by asking you, Kristi, what is your Ikigai?
Man, it's so beautiful. I just left a meeting where my collaborator just a few minutes ago was like, so how are things besides filmmaking and motherhood? Like, how's your life? And I had this kind of this pause where I had to like go very deeply and think, what is in my life besides those two things? Because I constantly feel like you're balancing as an entrepreneur,
Yes.
raising a family and having a career that you're building. And I didn't have much to like offer, and it kind of put me on the spot. And I've been reflecting on that just since my walk back to the office this morning. And I feel like I'm in my flow state right now.
Mhm.
I feel as a woman in my mid 30s that things are finally aligning where I'm really stepping into my power and purpose in a beautiful way and creating a life for my family that I maybe never thought would have been possible in my early 20s. And the way that this has all aligned in this kind of, I will not call it effortless because there's so much to the journey that we can get into that's been a really healthy challenge. But I have just such an appreciation now for the way things have evolved and
Yeah.
created this undeniable yes moment where I realized that my passion and my vocation and my sense of purpose and all those things that go into that are really shining in this moment right now. I remember being back in my 20s and thinking by like 25, if I hadn't had it all figured out, that I was like some sort of a failure. I had that kind of scary imposter syndrome moment with myself. And I hear this from women as they move into their 40s or 50s, or like some of our mutual TEDxers who just turned 60, that each decade really gets better and better. And I'm just a full believer in that. And so I feel like I'm in my flow state right now, but like the future is bright and there's just so much more that's coming out of that. So it's like a roundabout way to get into what I do for my job and my career, which is I run a female centric production company and we're a mission driven movie making business. I mean, that's at the core of it. That's what a production company is. But
Mhm.
what makes it so special is the way it all came to be and the way that our vision and our passion now uplift this like universal goal to put women at the center and create opportunities for younger female filmmakers to rise into their personal creative power and embody their leadership and their potential. It all just kind of aligns in this beautiful branding that has become very organic. It's not something I even really put a lot of thought into. It's just like moving through the world as your true self. And then when it all shows up in front of you, I think you know that you're in the right place and you're doing what you're meant to do.
100%. And I love how you explain that you're in flow because for so long, and I think it's just taught. I mean, it's like you're asked so early. I actually was literally just came from my daughter Liv's fifth grade graduation. And as part of the graduation ceremony, they had filmed all of the kids holding up a sign of what do you want to be when you grow up?
That's so special.
Right? And all of them, and of course, she holds it up and she's like, "Actress," and she said, "Or author." And I'm like, "Why does it have to be an or?" It's like both
Yeah.
and. But I was really sitting there and I was thinking about it. Number 1, I loved seeing all the responses because some of them were like, "I want to be a nail technician. I wanna be like" they're just thinking of what lights them up. They're not thinking about, "Is that gonna have a 401k? Is
Mhm.
that going to lead to being able to buy the house I want?" What is exciting to them? But then I also sat with, I wish someone would have told me at that age that your purpose, or in the East, oftentimes referred to as your Ikigai, right? Your
Mhm.
reason for getting up in the morning is not a label. And it's not even just one thing. It's actually just finding the current where you feel every day you are utilizing your unique gifts.
Yeah.
And in doing so, that lights you up and it makes you excited and you wanna continue to wake up every day and that will evolve. It's gonna change. And so, like, let me ask you this, like, the 5th grade version of Kristi, what was your sign?
I was on stage just like Liv.
Were
Like,
you?
I'm getting teary thinking about it because I just had the pleasure to meet your daughter. I hope you don't mind me sharing
No,
that we
please.
had her come into the studio and do a table read for the feature that we have in development right now. And
Yeah.
it was so cool to see her speak the words aloud. And she's just such a precious human. And not that I see myself in her, like, she didn't like particularly remind me of myself. I think I was a little less reserved than your daughter when I
Yeah.
was in her shoes, but I definitely only ever had the dream to be an actor my entire life. Like, I had my acting moment. They say Every actor has one. Like, when did you decide? And my moment was like 4 years old. I remember that specifically. So I would have been on stage with the sign that said, I'm going to be an actress. And I'm emotional because I think about you and the way you're supporting her through this. And it's not going to be like an easy path. And I know you and Rudy are
Yeah.
aware of that, especially hearing my TED talk. Like, you know, the realities of that. But looking back on my youth, my mom always said, I only just want you to be happy. Whatever you choose and decide to do, just choose happiness. So I never had that societal pressure or that familial pressure from my parents to go to traditional college, like get a degree, go be a doctor, whatever the 401k. It was not something that was weighing down my dreams and my passion and drive to get up in the morning. So that's beautiful. And like anyone who's listening who has children, I would highly recommend not putting them in a box and letting them
Mm.
be the fullest expression of themselves and gently guiding them, almost like the Montessori philosophy of just like observation and like gentle guidance. My daughter's name is River, and my husband and I always say we're the banks to her river, you know, and she's like
Yeah.
running wild and free, but we're like, we're just here to kind of support and nurture who she's going to become. That's the best gift you can give to your kids, I think, just from personal experience. But then also people who are like maybe thinking about their label that they put on themselves, or they thought that they would do X, Y, and Z, having the courage to step out of that and to embrace the different pathways that you might take to get there. I am like
Yeah.
the walking proof of you don't have to have it all figured out yet. And that becoming an actor for me, I've always been an actor my whole entire life. But in order to make that my career choice and to be the thing that I wake up and I'm excited to do, I've had to put on so many other hats that I'm really proud of, but I would have never at 6th grade thought that I would be producing films, running budgets, hiring crew, like ordering equipment, scoping projects like at the $1 million level. I'm the one who like cried through math homework. It just wouldn't have been on my radar at all. So you never
Yeah.
know what kind of challenges are waiting for you. But through all of those things and those skills that I've built as like a catalyst and a vehicle to get me to my personal dreams, my whole purpose in life has expanded like 1,000-fold. And I have had the most fulfilling decade of my entire career because I wasn't so stuck on one version of my dream. And I had the guts and the tenacity to like really let go and adapt and realize that I had to put in the work in a different way to see the end result, which comes a lot from like trusting your intuition. And through that, I feel like I've stepped into like my greatest power. You know, when like you just couldn't imagine it would be possible, like those
Yeah.
things. I know you feel that with your own life where you're like, I'm so glad I did this because look what was waiting on the other end of something. I feel like I'm constantly reflecting and thinking about that. I think about it like how I met my husband. What if I never did X, Y, Z? Like that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know, if I never answered that Craigslist casting call, I would not have met my husband. Those things, right? It's like
Yeah.
just trusting the universe and saying yes when you're uncomfortable is probably one of the best things I can recommend for people to do.
Oh, and you are, again, you're a walking, talking demonstration of what this can look like and a reminder that we all have unique paths. And like you said, I mean, I would put money on it. Like it will unfold in ways you didn't anticipate. So I would love to
Mhm.
kind of go back to you have this love for acting. You're pursuing acting the traditional way, right? Which is you're probably were taught this. Like, well, this is what you do. You're gonna go get an agent, you're gonna start applying, and you're gonna go to like 8 billion auditions and
Mm.
hope for the best that you actually get a role. So at what point did you start to feel out of alignment with this path that was put in front of you?
Yeah. I think reflecting, I think about my life in decades at this point, and I'll just kind of start from the beginning, if that's
Yeah.
cool, just to
Yeah,
give a
of
little
course.
context. But we'll go back to like 10-year-old me, since that's your daughter's age, right? I was
Mhm.
the one who was organizing the backyard plays with all of my cousins and siblings up in Chesapeake Bay area. And over the summer, we'd like do our own rendition of like The Sound of Music or, like, Beauty and the Beast, these, like, ridiculously large scope projects, and we have 6 kids running around doing the backyard version of that. But I wasn't just acting in them, I was the one scheduling the rehearsals, making sure we had costumes, going to the thrift store, setting up the green room, and making it feel all legit, you know? And I was marketing the movie, making flyers, going out to the neighbors, make sure people actually showed up for the performance. I was basically being a producer and had no idea at the time that those were the skills that I was building and that's what I was doing. It was like an ambiguous position in the film industry that I couldn't have put my finger on. I had never even set foot on a film set, so I was really thinking in theatrical terms at that point.
Mhm.
But after graduating high school, I grew up in a really small town in North Carolina, and I hopped a plane and I moved to LA at 17, which is insane thinking about that today. I don't know why my family said yes to that, but I was just driven. I wasn't going to take no for an answer. And I felt out of alignment, like, pretty clear off the bat. I definitely had stars in my eyes and the, like, romanticized version of I'm gonna make it in Hollywood and get discovered, and that kind of small town girl goes to the big city. Through lack of opportunity, lack of, like, even just getting the chance to audition, that was mostly what the era of California was to me, but I do remember coming back to North Carolina kind of with my tail between my legs, you know? I had, like, run out of my savings, I'd spent a few years there and decided to move back east and felt really a lot of shame around that. I felt like I had let down my whole town because everybody was like Hollywood was like my middle name, you know, and I felt really crushed as like an 18 or 19-year-old girl coming back home and kind of not wanting anybody to know I was here and felt really small. Some things picked up a little bit, but a lot of the roles that I was going out for were just so superficial and so sometimes like demoralizing and over sexual or like all these things as a young woman that start to wear on your inner peace and your sense of self and purpose, especially at such a fragile time in your upbringing when you're already scrutinizing your own body and your face and your representation. I mean, this was before social media culture too. So I can't imagine what young women are going through. And I'm always trying to embody just strength as a woman now to give girls like a really good thing to look up to that isn't just all about how you look, how you dress, and what size chest you have, and these kinds of things that you feel like the industry is going to take note of. I got told to like lose 10 pounds, fix my teeth, like all these kind of just flippant comments that stick with you. They like create your inner monologue and your sense of self-worth. And I was starting to feel just degraded by that. It's like a sense of like a corrosive energy that's just wearing away at your spirit. Nothing was really bringing me joy, sparking me joy. Mostly it was I was feeling anxiety around I got a call back like, how do I need to stand in this full body shot to like make myself look like the version that I know they're looking for this movie? And just things like that that should not be on your mind when it comes to living your truth, which is if you're into acting, it's really about portraying emotion and creating stories and moving people through performance. And so, what was your question? You wanted to know, I'm like lost now at
No,
the
it's fine. I was asking, like, when did it start? Because there's always that, like you said, that spark of joy where you're doing something because it lights you up, but you're met with what the world has created as the path.
Mhm.
And so then there's the choice, right? It's like, well, I will continue on the path at the cost of my joy and my light because
Yeah.
that's really that corrosive element you're talking about. Or do I completely give up on it altogether and assume this is a sign that this is not something I should be doing? But there's a third option, and you discovered a third option,
Yeah. Well, I
right?
had those moments of self-doubt. Should I give up? Is this really my path? Is this going to work out? I was reaching that like age 25, right? Where I had just set that benchmark for myself. If I hadn't made it by then maybe I should be thinking about something differently. And the reality of it is 25 is when I got started. Like that's when I ended up on Craigslist. I found this casting call from my now best friend who later became my producing partner, and she was casting her very first movie. And I remember how different her script sounded on paper. I mean, I could tell just instantly it was written from the female perspective, and this character that I was auditioning for just was real. She was fleshed out. She felt like an interesting person. And that was new to me. I'd been auditioning for 10 years at that point, and it felt new to me and fresh to read something from the female perspective. And then getting on set and getting to be able to collaborate with another female filmmaker. I mean, granted, we were like the only two women on set at that time, but just realizing like there was more to the story and more to the potential of what we could actually do. There
Mhm.
was like a spark that really was lit for me in that moment. And things didn't like kick off right away. It's not like I met Erica and then boom, everything was great. It's like we went through another couple years of just being friends who were both actresses, still going through the grind. We were now putting each other on tape for these auditions. We were scene partners. We became roommates. We're living together, paying like $100 a month to live in this like little house downtown on Dock Street. Just whatever you can do to get by to like stay working in the film industry because it's not an easy way in, especially
Yeah.
creating a sustainable career, but always trusting that there was something else out there. And I do remember having a meeting at the Port City Java on Front Street with a trusted casting director friend of mine. Her name is Jen Nguli, and she was someone who I remember was kind of always in my corner, like
Mhm.
one of those gatekeepers that was trying to hold the door open for you. But at the end of the day, the casting director is not the end all be all. You're still answering to the networks, the studios, the executives. And I sat down with her having this like heart to heart and being like, at my wit's end, just kinda like my rock bottom moment where I'm like, "Is this even worth me pursuing?" I feel like I've been at it for so long, and they're casting influencers now. This is like a thing. They're asking how many followers you have at the end of your slate at your audition, and I just felt so defeated by that. Like, do I
Yeah.
have to put my whole life out on social media? And this was like 2015 in order to feel like I could get a job? Like, what's going on? And she said to me, Kristi, she said, "You're really talented, but maybe you're just living on a different branch of the tree, right? If you think about the industry as this like beautiful oak tree, some people are up here and their branch like reaches up to the sky. And maybe there's branches that like dip low and they like brush and touch the ground. And you're just on a different branch of the tree." And she said, she knew Erica, my business partner. We had not started our company at the time. We just knew each other and were friends. And she also knew her. And she said, "Maybe you and Erica are gonna like start a production company and make your own movies." And I looked at her directly in the eye and I was like, "Yeah, that sounds really hard. I have no idea how to do that." And I didn't think twice about it. I didn't even like consider that was the first sign from the universe. Like she just like spoke it out into existence, literally out of left field. I had never demonstrated that I knew what a producer did or how to run a company or go to business school. She just kind of had like a word from the universe and like said it to me. And it was over a year later that my childhood best friend moved back down from New York City, where she was living, and she was pursuing an acting career, having really negative kind of experiences like with men in the industry. And I remember her coming to this Super Bowl party. And Erica and I at the time were dating these friends, and our boyfriends were like hosting a party. So me and Erica were there, and I invited Devin, who had never met Erica. And I remember her coming to the party and just being like her and her very vivacious, like amazing self and saying, "I came to North Carolina and I'm going to start a female led production company. I don't know what that means, but like I'm here and I'm here to do it." And I looked at her and I looked at Erica and I said, "Well, that sounds really hard. Like, good luck." And it was like the second little knock, knock, knock from the universe. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't see myself in that path. I was like so fixated on the traditional, this is the way you're going to break in. And it was probably 8 or 9 months later, I was on a call back, driving back down to Atlanta, Georgia for like a bit part playing opposite Kate Bosworth, like her sister. And that was like so exciting 'cause she's a name. And I was like, I got a call back, "Erica, will you come in the car with me? Because I already drove down there for the audition. They want me to come back. It's like another 6-hour drive." So she comes on this road trip with me, and it was like a there and back. We're gonna like come back the next day kind of thing. You're like a road warrior when you're an actor in the
Mm.
Southeast. And during that road trip, we conceptualized our first short film together as Honeyhead Films, like as our brand. And she decided, I'm going to write something for us to do because neither of us are booking anything. We're going to just try. We're going to try to make something ourselves. And it was in that moment, that was like September, I think. I said, you know what? We should call Devin. We should try to include her in this because remember, she said she wanted to collaborate
Mhm.
with female filmmakers. And so the three of us, three actresses, set out on this like impossible journey to try to crew up a movie when we'd never done that before, learn how to edit, learn how to make schedules. We were doing the catering. I was like cooking quesadillas for the crew in my kitchen while also starring in the movie and we're filming in my apartment. These kind of just like fake it till you make it moments. And I remember wrapping that project and the crew saying, this was the best run set we've ever been on. Like, will you please keep making movies? Wilmington needs you. And us looking at each other like, I said, we need a name. We got to brand our company today. And it was like, boom, Honeyhead Films, lightning bolt from the universe. And like the rest is history. So it was this like 3 knocks on the door and me finally becoming so frustrated that I just let go and I trusted, even though I did not have like the tools in my tool belt to get started. I felt like the imposter syndrome was still very real at that moment, but that validation after the fact, after the weekend shoot of our first short film and the way people responded to that, it just was so special that I knew we were now having like a larger sense of purpose. And on that crew, it was 50% women. And that's the way
Mhm.
we've run every single set since then. In the last 10 and a half years, it's been at least half female crew, if not up to like 180% crew. It wasn't like we said we're going to sit and do this. It just happened. And then it kept happening and it kept happening. And it became so much bigger than the three of us. It became this brand and this mission and this movement to create gender equity in the film industry and to create movies that come from a place of authenticity and characters that feel real and move through the world with a sense of power and purpose that we just were not seeing portrayed on screen. But it was
Mm.
never like we sat down and had this big master plan. I am like a full believer in just getting started because you'll
Yeah.
never get started if you wait to have it all figured out.
Yeah. I mean, I think about, and you share in your TEDx talk, and obviously, if this comes out by the time your TEDx talk does, I will link this in the show notes because, ladies, you have to watch her TEDx talk. It is so good and it will stay with you. Like it really will because it makes you
Thank you.
think and it makes you see your own life and your own experiences through a different lens. But the statistics you share are pretty staggering in terms of when you think about like you have this passion, you were born with it. I believe that we on a soul level chose it, but our
Mhm.
job is to express it, right? So you have this passion and it's beautiful and it's big and you're gifted in it. And so many people have this passion and so few
Mhm.
actually get to do it in a way that allows them to afford to do it, like long term, that where it's not just a hobby and a side hustle, so something you used to like to do and you tried once, and then you settle for a
Yeah.
job that is more realistic, right? And to me, that is heartbreaking. And so, why do you think? And I know it's not just women. I know men go through this too, but specifically women haven't done this, haven't done what you've done, haven't just like said, you know what? I'm going to start my own. If I'm not being invited to a table, I'm going to create my own
Mhm.
table and I'm going to pull up chairs and I'm going to allow people to join me in it.
I can only answer that from a place of like a decade ago before I made that leap of faith, like where I was operating from. And if I think back, I was just thinking so small. I was creating this one-way street of how to get to the end result, and I wasn't accepting the fact that there are many paths to get you where you're going, and I don't really have the answer of, like, why more people don't do it, probably because it's really scary,
Mhm.
financially, like, it's tough to get a loan from the bank for a film. They call it a speculative industry, and they kinda don't take you seriously. It's like, I get it. If you're considering a career path that feels speculative or I mean, at this day and age, all career paths feel that way to me. It's like we're
Right?
moving in this direction of like uncertainty on a universal level. And so maybe
Yeah.
this will apply to more people than just
Yeah.
artists,
Oh, yeah.
I think that the reason it worked out for me is because I found that synergy of
Mhm.
purpose, passion, vocation, all those things we're talking about, they all became aligned, and it's like, whoosh, your heart opens and your universal reach opens, and like people become attracted to you and opportunities flow towards you. I'm like quoting my TED Talk now, but it's not because you're begging for them, right? It's
Yeah.
because you're no longer ruled by the chaos of rejection for me, or just the chaos of uncertainty. It's like the trust and the kind of idea that everything that you want is really downstream of you. And if you just let go and let the current take you, you're going to end up where you need to be. You got to keep showing up, surrounding yourself with great mentors and people who support you. I mean, your network is everything. There's so many important parts that go into it. It's not just all magic and woo, but being a good person is what attracts all of those things and aligns, I think aligns opportunities. Showing up as your authentic self, especially if your authentic self is a good person, then
Mhm.
that's when things start to align. And you'll get those nods from the universe. You're going to get the yeses, and you're going to start to feel like there's more in it than just the selfish, like, for me, it was like the pick me treadmill of getting the acting job, and that is so boring to me at this point. I'm, like, knocking off auditions left and right all week long, but none of them, like, really mean a lot to me. I'm, like, still
Yeah.
doing it. I have my agent. I, like, answer the calls, but I'm no longer, like, hanging on a callback and, like, hoping, 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 and praying the casting director will love me. You know what's really cool, Anniston? One of those gatekeepers from my youth that I'd been auditioning for the last 15 years, someone who I greatly admire, I just hired her to join our crew for the next feature film. And so now she's on my team, and
Oh
I've
my
cast
gosh.
myself in the movie. So now it's like I didn't even need her to say yes to me. Instead, I've hired her to go out and find these other name actors to bring
Yeah.
them to the table. And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that the FinCan and casting office would be working for me and coming to my project ever. I would have like
Mhm.
never, ever, ever seen that. And the universe just has bigger plans for you, for all of
Yeah.
us. We have to let go and trust in order to like expand to our greatest. It's like you got to fill the space. And we have such like a limiting view of what's possible because we're human. You know, that's like who we
100%.
are and how we're like taught to be, I think. It's just not
Ugh,
all black and white.
it's not. And something I've really has been a big part of my journey and a big part of my healing and coming back to my authentic self was moving from the lens and the identity and perspective of arranging my life and taking action because I wanted someone to choose me versus waking up every day and choosing myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, when I from the outside looking in on your life, it's like I can see exactly where that happens in the plot, right? It's like
Mhm.
that moment where you spent and you like literally, it wasn't even like figuratively, it was like literally your life was built around choose me, please choose me, please choose me, please choose me. I mean, every day.
Mhm.
Some people go through that. Maybe they're applying for a job. They stay at that. They please choose me. They're there for like 5 years, but every day
I
you're literally like,
know.
you're like bulletin board, choose me. And then you came to the point of like, well, I either can live a life like this, continuing to give all of my power to others, just waiting for permission to be chosen, or I can choose me.
Mhm.
And from that vantage point, you can create anything, right? Because that's where you start tapping into what I believe is when you're in alignment, is that synchronicity becomes your organizing principle of your life. You don't need a plan, 40-year plan. Like you just need to start, you need trust, you need to choose yourself, you need to believe in yourself, you need to be open to receiving support and collaboration because I think that that is the way. But it's like, it's just one day, it's becoming an active participant in the unfolding of what
Yeah,
was
and
meant for you.
and the putting one foot in front of the other without
Yes.
having the full blueprint. Can you
Yes.
repeat that, what you said? Synchronicity.
Is the organizing principle. It becomes the organizing principle.
Go off. I wanna hear more.
No, no. Like, preach, sister,
Oh my
preach.
gosh, I love that. I gotta
Yeah.
write it down. That's so
Oh,
beautiful.
I think that that is it's the gift of alignment, but it takes a while to trust that, and you
Mhm.
have to build that relationship, and so I think well, there's so many different directions I could take this before we close out, but I do believe we are in interesting times, and I think that a lot of women are feeling this pressure even more so and this desire to step forward into leadership and to navigate around rather than trying to push against the gatekeepers to completely just mitigate needing to do that and to create their own path. And so, what recommendation, and again, this is not just about acting in this path, like this same, I guess, way of thinking and approach can be taken in corporate, it can be taken in any category, right? Where you see someone is saying no, or someone more powerful than you is holding the keys to your desire and what you want. What would you say is some advice you would give to a woman who is standing at that precipice right now and who has felt powerless to create change, to create what it is that she desires for herself because of gatekeepers? Hey, sister, let's take a quick pause because I want to tell you about something I have just released. It is a free numerology quiz called Uncover the Hidden Patterns Shaping Your Life. And all you need is your date of birth. Here's what you're going to walk away with: your life path number, the curriculum you came here to master, and clarity on the hidden pattern that has been quietly running your life without you even knowing it was there. Because once you can see it, you can stop blaming yourself for it. You realize it was never a you problem. It was just a pattern you hadn't seen clearly yet. And once you can see it, you can actually do something about it. One of my clients said it best. She said, Anniston didn't just tell me about my path, she helped me remember it. That is what this quiz does. The link is in the show notes. It is free and it is worth every minute. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, I think it's such a good question. And I want to touch on something so I don't forget to come back to it
Yes.
because I want to hear your opinion on like the moment in time that we're moving into as women because I
Yeah.
feel that so strongly too. But I'll answer your question and say that the first thing that comes to mind are like the three kind of thesis moments of my TED Talk, which is like redefining what your existing premise of your life is and realizing that gatekeeping power only exists if you give it power, if you like release and relinquish yourself to the gatekeepers, and realizing that you don't have to succumb to that, that you have your own personal authority over your path, whether like as scary as that sounds, it's like it's the first step to sovereignty. And it's like the
Mhm.
root of real potential is realizing that you have the ability to say yes or no. The second piece of advice would be to actively take part in rewriting your story. I love that Liv wants to be an actress and or author. Like
Mhm.
be both things. Shoot
Right.
for the moon, catch lightning in a bottle. You can do all of it. You can wear all the hats. Do not limit yourself. If you don't like where you've ended up, you have the power to change. You're the one. Waiting on permission is not going to do anything. It's going to create decades of resentment and corrosive feelings towards yourself and society and the people you're working with and all of those things. Like, I'm not saying everyone is probably as brave as me that would just like hop a plane to Hawaii on a whim or like move to New York City without ever having even thought about being there because you get a scholarship to school. Like I've done so many irresponsible things in my life because I have a bit of wanderlust like
Yeah.
spirit in me and I'm pretty fearless when it comes to that kind of thing. But you don't have to be as like outrageous about it. You can take small steps to rewrite your own story and to say no to the roles that life is trying to cast you in, or the
Yeah.
corporation is trying to cast you in, or even like your inner circle. Maybe it's as intimate as your own family unit. Like, what roles are you given? What labels are you given that you didn't choose? And how
Yes.
are you going to personally like have a ritual where you can shed yourself of them and you can rise above that and have ownership of what you want to be seen as and what you want to embody for people. And for me, being the pick me actress, it never felt that exciting. It felt really small. Like I didn't feel powerful. I felt kind of like annoying or like an inconvenience to people because I wasn't what they were looking for. And being like Earth Mama producer woman who's like birthing movies from start to finish and being the I pick you person instead of the please pick me person. It's like it fills my cup in this way that I really feel like I'm moving through the world with a sense of this is what I'm meant to do. And the getting to act is like icing on the cake, which I wouldn't have ever imagined that was possible, that my perspective could have changed in such a holistic way to like
Yeah.
really It's kinda like my fate got sealed, and now I'm happier than I could have ever been. And the last piece is about in my TED Talk, I talk about redistributing the power, and I talk about how it cannot just be about you, or it shouldn't. It should be
Mhm.
about fixing the system for others. And when you give people something to stand for other than, like, your own personal journey, I think, like, having a storyline that's bigger than you and yourself, like, I can say you, Anniston, and Rudy probably embody that, where you're not just focused on your own potential and what you wanna do in life, but how can that help and
Yeah.
inspire other people and create these ripple effects of change? That's when the synergy happens and the alignment really works out because it's like you're in orbit with Mother Nature, with the universe, with that what did we say at the beginning of the podcast? It's like that like divine feminine energy is like it's
Yeah.
coming full circle and you're now creating more than just opportunities for yourself. You're considering others and how you can help better the world in the process. And you can't do wrong by doing that. I think things will just naturally begin to work out.
I 100% agree with you. And we were talking, as you mentioned before we hit record, we immediately started getting into juicy conversation. And I was like, we got to stop. I got to hit record so we don't miss anything. But we started talking about feminine energy and how you were saying, oh, we've got crystals all over our studio. I mean, we're very woo. Like, we've really designed this production company from our lens and our uniqueness. And we're trying to just rinse and repeat what you've always seen. And I think that more and more people need to start giving themselves permission to do that. But what we also were talking about was that as women, I think that we hear, okay, well, you've got to lean into your feminine and we've got to bring all this feminine energy, which is very intuitive and flowy and creative. And yes, you do. But you also, like, if you hadn't have had a really balanced masculine side, right? Because we have
Mm,
both, then it never would have grounded into anything. Like, you never would have been able to have a structure to hold honey head. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And to allow, and as especially as from a producing perspective, I mean, you've got to have that masculine side down too. So how do you recommend, or how do you personally, like, how do you move and spiral between your feminine and your masculine so you can ensure that you're not abandoning one side? Because I think we usually see examples out in the world of one or the other. What
Yeah.
we don't see as often is someone who is very balanced in both.
It's gonna be difficult to articulate, but as you're describing this, it's like I go third person. I like zoom out and I can
Yeah.
have this out of body experience where I see myself like in production, like running the ship, also carrying the emotional weight of the movie, delegating with confidence, like knowing that the system and the scaffolding that I've built, I've been like working on a movie for the last couple years and now we're in production. It's like my ultimate flow state as a person. And there's this like delicate switching of like, I'm emotionally vulnerable and available as a character. I'm also completely aware of what's going on and like down to the like really gritty minutia of where they're parking the porta potties today. You know, it's like the most unfeminine thing. And then you're like going through some really intense dialogue scene with like a character playing your sister or your mother or something like that. And
Mhm.
to be able to like have the scope and the spectrum of all of those strengths and like personalities in one. I don't even know how to describe it, but I know when I click in and it's happening and it's like a big part of it is surrounding yourself. Like a huge part of what I do as a film producer is this chemistry building and thinking about the way that the crew and the leadership and the halo effect of like the hierarchy, you know, and like how the people at the very top and the way that they approach production and think about leadership and think about how the interns are going to feel, all the way down to the production
Mhm.
assistants, the cast, everybody. And you're holistically creating an environment where stories can be born, but like logistics can flow well. It's like I'm just born to do this. And I don't really know like how it happens. I just know when it clicks in and it's going, how important it is that I can do it all. And I have this like mentorship model with my interns where they just want to kind of sit in on calls where I'm like negotiating rates and like things that they feel scary to an intern. Like, how would you talk to someone about that? How do you even pitch a project to people? And you can hear the way like it just changes based on who you're talking to and what that conversation calls for, but to be able to tap into like all elements of your personality at any moment, that's kind of what makes a good film producer. It's someone who understands it's not all about money. It's not all about the timeline. It's not all about the actors and like having the name talent like comfortable. It's like, how do you holistically create synergy across the scope of making a film and make space and purpose for all people and like know their hopes and dreams and desires and care about their mental health? That's the feminine side I bring to things. But in the back
Mhm.
of my head, I'm like standing in this like ditch of mud, like with my boots on, thinking
Yeah.
about all the other kind of mechanics of it and like standing strong and firm on things and being able to have scary conversations with confidence. And it's just incredibly important to not shy away from the things that scare you, but to always be putting yourself in a situation where you're a little bit uncomfortable. And I think the next time around, you'll be much more comfortable doing that, but then still dip your toe in the next thing. And eventually you're going to like conquer the world and feel like, wow, there's nothing I can't do. But you got to start somewhere. Like putting yourself out of your comfort zone is probably the first step. I hope that makes any kind of sense to anyone. I kind of just went out of
No.
body there and very into like the details of film production. So anybody who's not familiar with that, now you have a little look into all the things that go through somebody's brain when you're thinking
Mm.
about a
But
movie.
also as someone, I've led teams, and it's the same. It's a new style of heart-led leadership that does look different than what most people have experienced, because it is thinking about the we, right? And it's understanding that humans, wherever you go, there you are, right? They're coming, bringing their hopes, their dreams, also their traumas, also their triggers, also their, you know what I mean? It's allowing that feminine energy of feeling in, right? And bringing heart and bringing compassion while simultaneously bringing structure
Mhm.
and bringing, because without structure, structure is a gift. It actually is a gift for people. They need to know when and how and where and all of these things. And I think what I see sometimes is that in fear and in contraction, what I see is women reverting back to what we've been conditioned to, which is to show up in the world in the masculine. And so we start out with this spark, right? We start out with these great ideas and bringing this like magic, right? This creative magic into what we're doing. And then the minute things start to fall apart a little bit, or there's deadlines and delays and then the money issues, it's easy to contract into like the spark goes out. And all of a sudden, the masculine takes over, and it's like, well, we've got to whip this into shape so we don't lose money. We've got to do all of these things. And so it is that balancing act. And I do think it starts with the leaders.
Mhm.
Like, if you're not connecting every day to that spark, and creating space for it and fanning that flame, I would imagine that masculine side of you, especially in times of sleep deprivation as a mom, or the, you know what I mean, could take over. And then all of a sudden it's like, where did the spark go in this film?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
lost its magic.
I think having a female business partner who's on, I mean, we're both Libras. It's like we're
Oh, wow.
horses.
Okay.
We're like, we're so aligned in so many ways. And we have this inner trust with each other where I feel so blessed to be able to have those hard conversations. If things aren't going well, we can sit down and like we can talk woo to each other and we can experience and like holistically think about things and not feel like the traditional pressures of business where we might address like a cash flow issue in a very different way than a lot of people would.
Yeah.
And we also have female investors. So when we're like reporting to them and things, there's just like this other way of operating where,
Mhm.
other female listeners can think about how can you surround yourself with as many women as possible to support you, even if it's not like directly involved in your business. Maybe you have an inner group of other entrepreneurs or other mothers or whatever your path is, other artists, creatives, people who are like-minded and can be a sounding board when things feel a little off because we can feel those pressures as
Yeah.
females to step in and like say in the film industry it's always like, well, it was really hard for me, so I'm going to make sure it's really hard for you. That kind of like
Yeah.
really counterintuitive energy where Honeyhead's all about like the lifting while climbing of it all. We haven't had it all figured out yet, but you can guarantee we've got a hand down to the girls getting out of high school or college who want to follow in our footsteps, or even the 10-year-olds. We're like, come along for
Yes.
the ride. We're going to bust down every door possible for you and everyone else because it was hard for us. We're not going to make it harder for you. We're going to say,
Yeah.
come along with us. Pull up a seat at the table. You're welcome here.
Well, it's interesting. I never really know where conversations are going to go, but I actually think it's so synchronistic and beautiful where this conversation has led because I believe where we're all heading is to the Aquarius age, which is collaboration. It's the we. And gone are the days of trying to lone wolf your way forward because of not wanting to share the glory. What you don't realize is that there is so much power, right? And equal energetic exchanges and with aligned people. And so I think your story and how you view it and how you approach it is so valuable. And so for anyone listening to this, I really want you to take this away and I want you to think about number one, where are you listening and believing the lie that is, it has to only be this way, right? It has to be this path, or you need to give up on that dream and desire. And I also want to ask you, where are you limiting yourself and thinking you have to do this all on your own? And what if there was a world where you got to collaborate and co create with incredible, aligned women or men? That you could not only have the joy of creating success and of achieving that success and doing what you love to do, but doing it with more ease and joy because we are DNA, we are hardwired for connection. And entrepreneurship can be a lonely, lonely road if you try and do it on your own. And so there's just so many beautiful nuggets that came out of this time with you. I just want to thank you so much for giving of your time and your genius and your story. And I cannot wait to see what continues to unfold for you and for Honeyhead.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. And for all of you tuning in, I love you, sisters. I see you, and I will connect with you next week.
Thank you for being here, beautiful soul. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to pass it along to another woman who might need these words today. And if you feel called, it would mean so much if you would take a moment to rate and review this podcast. It's one of the best ways to support this work and help these messages reach more women who are ready to remember who they are. And if you'd like to stay connected or share what's landing for you, come find me over on Instagram. I'd love to meet you there. Until next time, keep trusting your rhythm. Keep honoring your voice and keep becoming the woman you were always meant to be.